Right, last Dinar, the 50 LFR boss Odyssey took 9 days of my life, but it's over now. Hi and welcome to Thete Gaming, video, the last one before Dragonflight, I assume. I'm just finishing off the Dinar chase. Oh no, I'm going to die, don't want to die. On my Dracthyr Evoker. It has been tortuous, is what I would say. Tortuous. This is the last wing, this is the wing I need. I'm assuming it'll be fine, although this is not the most straightforward wing. Can't even get the trash right. I struggle to even imagine what's going to happen when we get onto the trash upstairs. But so far, what have I done? 47 fated LFR bosses in the last week, really, because Evoker, unfortunately, they only gave us not even 2 full resets. Not even 2 full resets. Oh dear. So it was a case of, right, you need 50 fated bosses to get all 3 of your Dinar. If you're going to chase them, there's no real need to chase them. You can just go and do some of the events, and you can pick up the 252 item level gear. That's fine, absolutely fine for leveling. But there's me thinking, well, why settle? Why settle? Get yourself a nice weapon, couple of nice trinkets. I'm on to my last Dinar now. But last week, I went into LFR to begin with straight away. And as expected, of course, it's just wall-to-wall Dracthyr Evokers. Wall-to-wall. You've got 2 tanks that can't be it. You usually had something else. You might have a mage or a priest or something. By and large, just everything was Dracthyr Evokers. And the ratios come down a bit now. It's a bit more balanced. This week's LFRs have not been nearly as bad. There have been some quite interesting novel approaches on the part of tanks in particular, I've noticed. I'm not really sure that the last time before a reset is the optimal time to try new things out, but there you go, that's just me. But I'll tell you what is going to be my main gripe from this hellish experience. And I brought it on myself. I'll freely admit it. I brought it on myself. I didn't need to do it. I'm not even intending to level up the Evoker very quickly in Dragonflight. It's not. I'm not particularly keen on the class. There are several classes I'd rather have as my alts than this. I just did it for the sake of it. But the loot system that they've changed to in LFR can die in a fire, just as I have been frequently doing so in the last week. It's absolutely grim. And I know people will say, I avoid calling it a new system because people say, oh no, it was used before, it's not really new. Yeah, it's new compared to now, or a few weeks ago anyway. Let's get myself out of this hellhole again. No, I'm going to die again, aren't I? It's before with the personal loot system. I would generally, and I've had 13 characters now. With as soon as I've done these 3 bosses, 13 characters gone through with my for the Dinars and stuff like that. So I've been doing a lot of LFR since I came back to the game a few months ago. And generally speaking, in a full run each week, you would get a couple of pieces of loot. They may not be what you want, they may not even be upgrades, but you get a couple of pieces of loot. So you're going to say about an average of a piece of loot every 5 bosses. So this Dracthyr Evoker now has done 47 raid bosses so far, fated LFR bosses. So on average, you'd have expected me to get about, on the old system, about 9 pieces. Again, they may not all be upgrades. I might get 3 different types of legs. And obviously can only use one of them. So you're not necessarily getting a full set or even half a set. but you would get 9 pieces of gear, and the chances are some of it would be useful. I have won 1 piece of gear. 47 raid bosses. I've no expectation that I'll get any more in these 3, just because grim experience has taught me. I'll show you what it is as well. It's this thing. I don't even want it. Macabre sheet music. From this very wing. One of the first wings I did. Got a piece of loot. This trinket, which I don't even like. Which I'll be getting rid of once I've got this final Dinar. That is the thing that's going. And that's it. Nothing else. And I'll grant you, obviously changing it to a rolling type situation instead of personal loot means there's been plenty of bosses where there hasn't even been anything to roll on. In fact, what was particularly galling for a lot of, not just myself, is last week when there was lots and lots of evokers in, and there's still a lot in now, but when it really was pretty much all evokers, and you would have pieces of gear dropping for people to roll on that nobody could use. It might be leather gear when it was of no use to either of the tanks or anyone else in the raid. You might have had a paladin, a death knight tank, and you might have had a priest and a warlock, and then everyone else is evokers, so a piece of leather gear is no use to anyone. And obviously with personal loot, you would never get wastage of that kind, because the way it would work is each person has their own independent chance to potentially get loot. You know, so there's an internal roll for each player. Do you get loot? And if you do, randomize which piece of loot you get from the actual loot table that your character is eligible for with the spec you've chosen. And I get that personal loot for other forms of raid is not great. I didn't actually experience it because it was coming in for Battle for Azeroth, wasn't it? And I don't remember all the details because that is the time when I stopped raiding. I raided through to the end of Legion and that was it. Then I pretty much stopped playing the game completely early on in BFA. So this changing to personal loot, which I could see was an issue for like mythic raiding especially. But for LFR, it's the loot system that should exist. You could, so mythic raiding, obviously you should have, you know, your master loot is the obvious one to use there. Mythic raids are organised. Even if it's done in a pub, it's still organised. Oh, it's not even letting me get started here. Ah, I hate this trinket so much. I should just not really use it in reality. But it's LFR personal loot because you're never in with other people where there's any like situation where, oh well, you know, yes it's an upgrade for me, but maybe it's a bigger upgrade for them, so let them have it. That sort of thing doesn't happen. I mean, yeah, you can, oh, what have I done there? You can in theory get a situation where you might be going with some friends that are there to sort of help you out with the loot, with this sort of system, but it's not how LFR is designed. It's designed for sad little loners like me that got no mates and are just going in for my own personal loot. And everyone knows it's about loot. Yes, yeah, it's part of the story of the expansions. You do the raid bosses for that, sure. That's not going to keep you coming back time after time. It's for the loot. So, I mean, normal and heroic, you can understand it's a bit of both. There are obviously a lot of people are going to pug normal and heroic, a lot of people. So what you want for that is maybe something where it's you've got the choice. So if it's more organised, you can choose Master Looter or you can choose to have personal loot. And maybe the community decides that when it's a pug type situation, personal loot is what you want to go with. And when it's a raid that's... Alright then. Okay, I see LFR for my final wing is going to end where it started off last week. Excellent. Thanks very much, whoever did that. Hey, this is turning into a like real ramble, isn't it? Because I'm distracted by actually pretending to play the game. But it's yeah. Can you imagine if this happens when Here's me. I'm coming back to the game after an absence from it, thinking, okay, I liked the way Shadowlands certainly was at the end. I think it's turned into a decent game for a casual, because I can only be casual. That's all I can be. I don't have the time. I wouldn't say complete. I, for a long time, didn't have even the inclination to come back to raiding. I would say now, if I had the time, maybe. Even then, I would say I've got to be realistic. Are they actually trying to read? No, they're not trying to reset. This is actually a thing now again. Okay. I'm old now. I'm getting old. My reactions aren't what they were. So I don't think I'd be. I think I was very much on the wane when I was last Mythic raiding anyway. But the fact that I was doing it so regularly maybe meant that I had much better reactions than someone of my age would have had. But I think now I would struggle. I think I would struggle. And I'm not going to practice enough to sort of get any sort of reaction time back. So, LFR is probably where I am. I wouldn't rule out trying to do some normal mode, but at the end of the day, if I did, I'd probably have to do it on my Beastmaster Hunter. I don't think I'm getting anywhere as a Retribution Paladin, getting invited to things like that. But by and large, I'm talking about this. So this is, for my Paladin at least, this is where it's going to be at. This is it. This is what I mean. LFR is going to be my thing. And imagine a situation where instead of 1 in 5 bosses getting loot, if you're unlucky, and you have to be unlucky, there'll be loads of other people that have done these 50 bosses and got way more loot. I've been unlucky, I'm sure. But the, in that situation, if you are unlucky, 1 piece of loot every 5 weeks instead of 2 a week with personal loot is how it was working out. Well, I mean, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not even going to be geared enough when the second raid's LFR comes out. You're still going to be in the first one because you won't be geared enough. It's absolute madness, isn't it? Alright, 1 down. I'll tell you something though. If with the number of evokers here, anyone that's not an evoker has a much higher chance of loot here. Maybe I should do this on my Paladin just to try and get the tier hat just at the end, even though they've turned off the actual bonus. It would still be an upgrade on the one I have. I've got a very bad feeling about the innovative way these tanks are dealing with the trash here. And just randomly pulling groups together. It's like they don't even come together, they're ranged. How is this supposed to work? I'll tell you what I've noticed on this fight. This fight tends to go quite badly because evokers only having a 20-yard range. You tend to be quite close to melee, and which means you haven't really got a lot of people keeping an eye out for the seeds. I've noticed that myself. It's if you're more in tune with the timings of everything and paying attention. But as someone who's only ever done this on LFR and not that many times, well, I suppose I have, when you consider all my characters, you're not always mindful of even when the seeds are coming out. So by the time I notice it, very often, there's not really long enough to get them out of the way. And because they're not appearing in your line of sight, because you're so close to the boss. So I'm going to have to try and be mindful of that, because it is absolutely what stuffs people over the last couple of weeks. I just think so many wipes on this boss. Oh good, that means the tank doesn't know what we're doing either. Is this where the sea? See, that's the thing. I've not know this fight well enough to even know if it's phase 2 or phase 3. I think it's phase to where some will appear. Do hate this trinket.
Stay away from lines.
You cannot bargain with death.
Oh, no, okay. Oh. Right. Right, I got away with that one. I got away with that one. That was me trying to be mindful as well. I only just saw it because it appeared in my face.
Die together. You cannot bargain with death.
Stay away from lines.
I had to use a double charge my movement to get myself out of it as well. There we go.
Phase 3.
This wondrous item is as lethal as it looks.
Run, you fall. There we go. Right, I am just going to use my fleshcraft because I've got no confidence here. Seems to be going alright though, everyone's alive. This is not bad. I have seen so many... Shall I use me? No, I'm not going to use my thing. I've got my ability that gives everyone else's... maybe I should have used it. Movement speed, take it off cooldown. Mind you, no one else used it. How many bloody evokers are there here?
Stay away from lines. Keep moving.
I am actually going to use my thing there because where's it gone? Just might help save some people, and I don't think we'll need to go use it again. That's the first time I've used it, I think.
Die together. Destruction is guaranteed.
Stay away from lines.
This exchange has
That was surprisingly competent. I was not expecting that. I was expecting some wiping here. Right, we've got anything to... Oh, we've got loads to roll on. Oh, I actually could do with a ring. Excellent. What's that now? I actually don't need legs. So I'm not going to roll need just for the sake of it to see if I can actually manage to win something. One more. I need one more and we're done. It is, of course, the Council of Blood. But that was surprisingly competent, so we will see. Maybe everyone knows how to do the next boss. Although the way the trash has been going, I think many deaths on the trash. But maybe a clean kill on the boss.
Oh, don't be such a bore.
Right, so one tank says don't pull entire room. What happens? Right. That was quite something. Tank says don't pull entire room. I mean, usually what happens is people pull two groups together, sort of maybe get a handle on it and then pull the other two, and it still can end up in a mess. This is just straight up whack it all. Oh, shall we interrupt the dinner bell? No, I couldn't even find the pissing mob for the dinner bell before it was too late. Now we're going to have people trying to res up and then they go all the way back to the entrance. Ugh. And now I've lost a tank. You can't be arsed with it. Ironically, probably the tank that pulled all this. Because it was the other one who said don't pull. I actually know what's going on. They've not reset that. I can see there's something there. Oh no, they have reset now, I think. Oh, okay. Alright then. Do you know what I'm thinking at this point? I'm thinking I should just leave this and just do one boss in and another. There's still some more wings I can do. I'm leaving this. This is not occurring.
4, 3, 2, 1. Special comers.
Oh, it's done. It's done. There it is. That's the last one. No, we don't need you anymore. Done it. It's done. And that's it. Officially, 50 bosses, 50 LFR bosses, one piece of loot. And in point of fact, just to finish off, I will just note 50 bosses, one piece of loot, and I'm not even using it. I've just replaced it. It's gone. That's it. I'll just vend it now. That's it. Finished. But there we are. Last little rant. I think it went on longer than I anticipated. We're just going to have to wait and see. I do not think, given the LFR, being honest, yes, it might be nice every now and then, but it's not something you do just to wind down a bit, because it can be a bit frustrating. And if it's going to be the thing that I'm going to do World of Warcraft for as a casual, given that it's a loot-based game, it's going to take off the edge if I miss personal loot every time I finish a week, having not just not got an upgrade, but not got anything that might have even been an upgrade. But there we are, rant over. Hopefully Dragonflight will absolutely be marvellous. Everything will work perfectly, and it will be wonderful for a casual player. We'll see. But those are my thoughts anyway. Until next time, I'll see you later.